Today's show is just going to be big. There's been a big performance out at the Elite 11. Alabama got a big commitment yesterday. And today we talk about two pretty big dudes on the countdown.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On. Luke Robinson. That's me, Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by us because there is no title sponsor today, but that's okay. We love it. It's first listen every single day. Jimmy, want to start out with just recapping Jackson Lloyd's commitment yesterday. The kid from California, pushing 6'7", monstrous kid. There are a lot of videos out there, out on the Twitter world of him dunking basketballs on the fast break, kind of cool stuff. We know he's got quick feet. We know he's got also got some room to grow. I mean, if you look at his picture now, maybe that picture was taken a year ago or something, but if you look at his picture, the first thing I think is he's got some baby fat to get rid of. Now, that's what we all go through as people, so that's not an insult. That's just the truth. I think once he does that, it's, hey, Katie, bar the door. I mean, this guy's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I think working on his body is going to be, task number one in so many ways. This is a rare offensive tackle, especially one that's rated as highly as he is, that doesn't work on his body very much because he's a three-sport player. He when football season is over, he is playing basketball. And as we know, basketball is the kryptonite of weight gain. You cannot gain considerable weight or mass when you are playing basketball. It is just too much of a cardio event. So he plays basketball when football's over, and you think, okay, well, when basketball season's over, he can hit the weights then. No, he plays baseball throughout the summer. So this has been his schedule all throughout his teen years. So Jackson has never committed himself to year-round weight gain and strength and carving off the bat, like Luke said, carving off the bad weight, replacing it with lots and lots of good weight. Jackson, if he retains his athleticism as he gets bigger, is just a premium elite prospect. That's why I compare him to Jonah Williams, who also had a similar weight gain thing. He was kind of light. I think Jonah Williams may have weighed something like 240 pounds on the 10th grade and 260 pounds on the 12th grade. And then, as we know, became a 300-pound first-round pick at Alabama. I see Jackson Lloyd very similar. And Alabama's been on him. Everybody that reads BOL has known since day one. When Kalen DeBoer got the Alabama job, I remember it so clearly. When Kalen DeBoer got the Alabama job, the first guy he really offered at Alabama as the head coach at Alabama was Jackson Lloyd, who at the time was a 3-star. And over on BOL, a lot of our members were like, does he know he's at Alabama? He just offered a 3-star. And again, those comments are coming from folks who just don't really understand how the ranking system works, that rankings take a year for them to be finalized, and kind of everybody starts out at a 3-star.
You got to get the baby fat off the rankings.
That's exactly.
Why do the rankings have to be so exact when you're we clamor for rankings is why we get them. So they get all this information in, they do the best they can, right? And then when you find a little more information, you're like, wait a minute, this guy isn't quite as fast as we were told initially after we've seen him in camps. And this guy is a lot taller and faster than we were told initially. So people move very quickly. And also, when you're ranking people in the 10th and 11th grade, some of them haven't gone through puberty yet.
That's right. Some of them change dramatically one way or the other. And the way, we can do multiple shows on rankings, but, the idea is that everyone starts out a 3-star, and as kids move up, or as you move them up, they gain a star. You don't want to be in a situation where you're giving stars to kids and then taking them back, right? I mean, you want them all whenever they're awarded that 4th star or that 5th star, that you're never going back and then removing it. So it's just a matter of, that's why on three, we don't really have 32 5-stars until the end of the process.
And it's bad enough when you go from like the number 107 player in the country to the number 114 player in the country after a year of new data has come in. And people are like, oh, my God, of course they lowered him. We got the anti-Bama bump. And you're like, no, we just found out that there are great kids we like just a little better that we didn't even know about. And so that's one thing. But when you do take a star away, I think that's a great point. When you take a star away, I mean, people are like, this kid must really stink. And it's not the case at all. It's just, but so that's why you don't want to do it.
But it's also why next January, Alabama will be sending offers to kids who have currently 3 stars. And like Jackson Lloyd, they may end up a 5-star. And by the way, the only ranking that matters is the last one, right? I mean, your finalized rank, when they're a junior at Alabama and you refer to their high school ranking, and you're talking about where they were in the final ranking, not where they were with 4 updates to go. So you just have to be a little patient with the rankings. It does mean something how they're ranked on the day they commit. It means something, but not everything. But anyway, Jackson Lloyd's such a great example of the rankings because he literally was an on-3 3-star the day he committed. But when he committed, we got guys at BOL like myself and Tim and Bone, and we all watch the tape. And then we send the tape to the rankings guys, and they watch the tape, and they're like, whoa, this is a kid we need to know. It's sort of how it works. I mean, so we knew from watching the tape and from looking at his offer list, we knew that this guy was not going to be a 3-star throughout the process.
One other note here before we move on to talking about your countdown guys for today. Quay Russaw is at the Elite 11. Yes. Apparently did very, very well for the first day. Now, granted,
what have you heard?
Day is what it is, but you don't. This is like the beginnings of the rankings. I mean, it'll change. But the Elite 11 top performers, number 1 caught my eye, Hassan Longstreet, who's committed to Texas A&M. I know it came down to a heated battle between A&M and Auburn, and A&M ended up winning out. Then there's Tavian St. Clair, who's at Ohio State, a very good player. And then Quay Russaw was number 3. So
and this ranking was per who?
This is on 3.
So, do you know who wrote it? Could you tell?
Well, I'm looking to see, and by Charles Power.
Okay. That's the head of the rankings department at On 3. He's the boss. So when he ranks them, pay very close attention. So Keelan at 3, huh?
Keelan at 3, and what he said was he showed a live arm. There also was the term I've never seen before, bouncy feet.
Bouncy.
Okay. I've seen bouncy, and but not bouncy feet, which I think is a very good thing. I've seen a live arm. He said he displayed a noticeable twitch throughout the workout, which again, I think that's a positive.
It is. Okay. We've just decided to use that word instead of super athletic.
And he said the bottom line was he seemed to get better and better through the course of the night and into day 2 and had a lot of positive momentum. And that's what I think people are going to get out of this with Quay Russaw. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Quay Russaw is eventually going to be a 5-star. And what it's going to be is a lot of these kids who have maybe been in the spotlight for quite some time, they are going to show up maybe just a hint more comfortable. And once Quay Russaw realizes, I can play with these cats, I think he's going to be just as good as any of them. It was interesting to note a couple others that they had. Number 4 was Deuce Knight, who's committed to Notre Dame. He was had ties to Alabama for a while. Then they had number 9 was Matt Zollers, who also had visited Alabama but ended up at Missouri. And number 10 is Julian Lewis, who a lot of people think ends up at either USC or Auburn at this point, maybe Colorado. But and then there were some other notes like KJ Lacey, they said had a solid workout. He spun the ball well and generally threw with good accuracy. Those are all nice comments, but they're not going to get you in the top 11 of the Elite 11. That's going to, and I do find it, I did find it interesting initially that George McIntyre wasn't there, but he has an injury.
He's injured. Yeah. He's the only guy that's injured and then couldn't play at the last minute. And he would have done well, I think. But Keelan at number 3, that's some, even if it's just one night, I mean, they're going to have 3 days of workouts, and I'm sure Charles and his guys are going to rank them after each day and then cumulatively. But even to be number 3 after one day, this is a great QB group, by the way. In my opinion, I see the cycle every year. This is an above average cycle for quarterbacks. I think it's a really good group. So for you to stand out in this group means a little more than some other years. So I think that's super impressive. I couldn't be more excited about Keelan and bouncy feet. One thing that sticks out to me, Luke, when I hear that term is I think when we look at quarterbacks and we gauge their athleticism, we're often talking about, can they hurt you in the run game? Can they can a QB draw or a QB sweep? Are they a threat to make a 20, 30-yard play or more just on a QB keeper? Is that the kind of athlete he is? Well, let's remember how being an athlete helps your quarterback too. It helps this way. Being athletic inside the pocket, where you use your feet to gain even a half second while never leaving the pocket can make the whole play. And Keelan is exactly that kind of guy. Now, he's also the kind of guy who can burn you on those long runs. He's very athletic. I had somebody, when I compared him to Jaden Daniels, one person told me, he doesn't run like Jaden Daniels. Well, I'm not saying he's a carbon copy of the Heisman winner in terms of, I'm not saying he's quite as fast and elusive as Jaden Daniels, but that doesn't mean that he's not very fast and very elusive, because he is. Are you muting, or is that me?
Yes. Yes, I'm muted.
Okay, I had a fan of the show stop me the other day, and it was their first question. Is the mute thing a shtick? I'm like, do you see Luke's face every time he does it? It's not a shtick. No one can act that well.
And I could even feel my facial expressions conveying exactly what I'd asked when I did that. But I actually said, hey, hate to cut you off here, Jimmy, but one very quick thing before we go to break. And now, ironically, that took up more time because I have to do it all over again because I've muted. But why isn't Bryce Underwood here?
He must have declined the invitation. As a matter of fact, now that you mentioned that, I think I remember reading that. And I don't keep up with Bryce since he's not in the picture for Alabama. He's going to LSU, and I think going into this process as the number one quarterback in the country. I believe Bryce declined his invitation.
Okay. Well, I need to tell y'all about eBay Motors. They don't mute. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and much more. I can't stop saying much sometimes. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, you're not burning cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions, well, they do apply. An eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to you as customers. Countdown time, Jimmy, and we have reached number 47.
47.
Okay, 47 with Mr. Quay Russaw. He caused a bit of a stir. I don't know what's going on, but a lot of the players are tweeting out pictures. It looks like they're taking these individual pictures against a deep crimson background that's kind of ill lit, and so but there's some kind of lighting on the outlines of their muscles somehow, and it makes all the players that have done this, like Caden Proctor, like Quay Russaw, like Jaden Roberts, it makes them look really intimidating. And but anyway, Quay Russaw was on that list of kids that I've seen do this. Maybe all the players did it, and just not all of them tweeted it out. I saw Jaleel Campbell did it. I saw Emmanuel did it. But anyway, very good photography, and he was one of them that looked good.
He looked good this spring. This is a 5-star that I think some people were a little surprised. Maybe he wasn't splashy off the bat. Again, that means very little. A lot of 5-star. Being Marlon Humphrey was a 5-star that redshirted, that became at one point the highest paid cornerback, in the world. Quay wasn't too splashy right off the bat, but this spring he was. Now, I even think this spring, from my look at him at the little practice we get to watch at BOL, and then also, A-Day, I think Quay is ready to play. I think he could possibly be ready to play a lot. His biggest problem and why he's down here at 47 is the fact that he's got 2 upperclassmen ahead of him on the depth chart. Quandarius Robinson, Q Robinson is going to play a ton. He's probably going to be your starter, and I think is probably an NFL player. And then one of the stories of the spring was Keanu Coot. I've gotten a lot of inside information from inside the walls that they were sort of blown away by him. That was a guy that the new staff obviously wasn't going to be too familiar with because he hadn't played a lot at Alabama. And then he's now totally healthy and on the practice field. And they're like, wow, this guy is kind of a dude. So Quay is kind of the third wolf right now. And he looked good in the spring, but he's got those 2 guys ahead of him. So the question for me is, how much does the third wolf play? Last year, a third outside linebacker was Q Robinson, and he played quite a bit. So we might see a lot of Quay, and I've underrated him. So I'm sort of ranking him here based on a projection of how much we'll see him. He's not ranked here based on how good he is. I think he's going to prove to be great. And I think this is a guy in future years, Luke, we're talking about in the top 10, top 15 of this list in future years. But this is his redshirt freshman season. He's the third wolf. So I have him here at 47.
I did it again almost, but
almost.
Yeah, I did. I remember nicely. I like him a lot, and and again, even as a guy like me that I talk recruiting all the time, I follow recruiting all the time, I follow high school football without recruiting, all these things. I was thinking, God, what is Quay Russaw? Junior, senior, and he's only been, this is his second year coming up.
Yeah, year two.
I mean, it's amazing how you're like, how is it? We should be saying this guy's ready to make a move and not be disappointed by that. Instead, I think most people are like, hell, I hope he gets his act together, by, I don't know, the Wisconsin game, or we may not see any more of Quay Russaw. I mean, I just the window for these guys to grow is so small these days. And some of it is fan expectation. Some of it is the transfer portal is going to have coaches make decisions. Is it worth gambling that the light will come on for this guy, or should I go get a guy whose light is already on?
Right. And, it's a different sport. Roster management is now, I think, the number one key to building a championship football team. And it has to do with keeping the players that are eventually, hey, let's think about this. Jaden Roberts, who I think may have signed with Alabama right around the invention of the transfer portal. But the point is, Jaden Roberts was a project. And that is a term that recruiting fans hate. I mean, I know I'm on the board all the time at BOL. Whenever you mention a prospect as a project, there's an immediate negative reaction to it. Okay, now who's having a negative reaction to Jaden Roberts today? No one. And it's just, all a project means is it may take a hot minute, with a guy. And I always compared Jaden Roberts to DJ Fluker. Guess what? Took a minute with him. He redshirted. And then as a redshirt freshman, sort of had a struggle year, frankly, before he was dominant in year 3. Look, just because the sport's changed, the kids have not. It does take a while for most of them. Saban has ruined us into believing that every 5-star is a potential immediate true freshman starter. And that's just not the case at all. We had more freaks than most everyone else had. So we saw a lot of these freaks. And that's literally what it takes to be an immediate great, for every Caleb Downs, there's 10 freshmen that just aren't ready to play, if not 15.
And when you talk about Caleb Downs, if I were Caleb Downs, I'd be a little upset about some of these reports, or Caleb Downs' family at least, that Ohio State is talking about maybe putting him at running back some, or letting him get this ball in his hands some. And okay, but that's why? You've got Quinshon Judkins. You had that other dude that's coming back that was a heck of a running back.
TreVeyon Henderson is, every time I see TreVeyon Henderson and he's healthy, I'm like,
he's a beast
with a capital exclamation point. And he's
probably the best wide receiver room in the country. So why? Tell me why. If you're Caleb Downs, I'm like, Coach, I abandoned a great place to come here. probably for a bunch of money. I'm not faulting him for it. I'm not mad at him. Go get your thing. That's the state of the union right now. I hate it, but I understand it. I'm not mad at Caleb Downs. Go be you, man. But I would say, hey guys, y'all said this is gonna help me even more because Saban left and all these other things. And now you want to put me at running back? What on God's grace? So what if I score a touchdown? That's wonderful. You're telling me Quinshon Judkins couldn't have scored that touchdown? I don't know. I just think that I hope Caleb Downs didn't make like just a horrible mistake. Because I'm going to tell you something. If Caleb Downs were on this Alabama team, I think people's outlook for the team would be better even than ours. Ours is great regardless. But need to take a break. And, when we come back, we're going to jump into number 46. Oh, I love how you got that big sniffle in there, right at the.
It was.
I don't even know if that'll come through. It'd be funny because I got to put 2 ads in there. If like they're doing an ad for, I don't know, Claritin. It's like, do you have sinus problems? You hear you in the background.
I think it's because I'm staying. If y'all can't tell from the background, I'm not at home. I'm staying at my sister's for a few days. It was actually my last day at my sister's, and we've actually never stayed here in her new house. I guess it's got my allergy sinus issues. So like new environment.
Your allergies are at the Elite 11. Okay, so King Mack is next. All right.
Yeah.
See, I purposely didn't say who the 2 guys were because I think now that you know that listeners know King Mack is ahead of Quay Russaw, some people are like, what?
Yeah, simple explanation for that. And long term, I mean, if we're going to, let's do overall talent. Quay Russaw ought to have him ahead of King Mack barely. Let's remember King Mack was a national top 100 prospect. On 3 ranked King Mack the number 99 player in the country when he came out of high school. So this is a highly rated high prospect. I have King Mack just 1 spot ahead of Quay Russaw just for this reason. Quay Russaw is a 3rd-team Wolf. King Mack is 2nd-team safety, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a 2. I think he's the guy that's basically going to back up Keon Sabb or Malachi Moore. I think he'll be a 2 behind one of those starters. Does that mean he'll play? I'm not sure. I mean, we got to see what these new substitution patterns are going to look like under the new staff. Under the old staff, he wouldn't have played much at all because Saban didn't substitute at DB. He just put in his packages. Sometimes the nickelback would come in, sometimes the dimeback would come in, but he wouldn't play his 2nd-team players. Maybe Kane Womack will. That's yet to be seen. But King Mack, I project as a solid 2 at Alabama this fall. I think he'll play as special teams for sure. He played in all 13 games as a special teams player in his freshman season at Penn State. And how about this little trivia note on King Mack? This is a pretty big deal. He's from Florida, right? St. Thomas Aquinas, a school that's been very kind to Alabama. How about producing Jordan Battle, Dallas Turner? Now along comes King Mack from this high school that's sort of the modern day, maybe, of Florida, right? King Mack won the state 100 meters. That's impressive in Florida. I mean, it other than maybe California, is there a more impressive state to win the 100 meters? Maybe Texas.
I think Florida. I mean, when I think fast, I think Florida.
Yeah.
Now, when I think big-bodied and fast for being a big body, I think Texas. And California, I just think pretty smooth athlete. So I'd go Florida is the most impressive. I'd be willing to bet Florida's the fastest state in the country.
And there's your 100.
Got all the retirees.
And he's at St. Thomas Aquinas. So he's running against nothing but the big school guys. So he won the 100 meters against the big school guys in Florida. So he can really, really run. In fact, the track team he was on the 4x100 relay team. They set the national record, fastest time in the country for 4x. So King Mack can fly, and he's a safety. He's not a corner receiver. He's a bigger bodied. He's in the 190s. Basically, he's a 190-pound type player. Again, as a true freshman, top 100 player in the country, comes to Penn State, plays in all 13 games as a freshman. We talked to our Penn State people at On 3 because we didn't really recruit King Mack out of high school. So this is a kind of a new name for us. So when King Mack's leaving, this is the beauty of working at a national network. We're able to talk to our Penn State people, up at On 3, and they're like, what can you tell us about King Mack? Was he in trouble? Why did he leave? And they're like, I don't know why he left. We didn't want him to leave. In other words, Penn State was trying to keep him on the team when he left for whatever reason. So this is a guy Penn State valued they saw as a future starter. I see him as a future starter, and I think you're going to see him this fall on special teams and probably playing some snaps at safety. He is in his year 2, and I think, Luke, this is a guy I would peg today as a starter at Alabama next spring.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, and one other question before we wrap up. Would you rather be called King Mack or Mack King?
I've said Mack King so many times. It's something I get wrong a lot because Mack King sort of sounds like a name more than King Mack, but I like King Mack better because I think if you know those are the two names, most people expect Mack to be the first name.
Agreed.
So I think it's cooler to be King Mack.
I do like that Mack King. If you said it real fast, it's Mack King. You're macking. Like I think the kids say that like if you're like doing something cool, like you're macking on something, I think.
No one would ever accuse me of doing anything like that. So
I'm
never doing anything.
Last night on our TV show, the guy I do it with over the summers, he does a good job putting a syllabus together. He always like has one or two little silly segments. We did like best 90s rock songs. He had them like listed like NCAA tournament style 1 versus number 32, whatever. I couldn't believe, I was like, man, I'd forgotten how daggum depressing the 90s were. Like, am I voting on this by a song I like or by a song that is the 90s? Because if it's a song that is the 90s, like Smells Like Teen Spirit was the number 1 seed. And I think they were against like, I can't say, it's maybe Wonderwall by Oasis. And I was like, I like Wonderwall better. I mean, because I'd rather listen to Wonderwall. Because Smells Like Teen Spirit is sort of like, when the Beatles were singing sock hop stuff, like it was good for that moment because that's what everybody was doing. But it doesn't stand the test of time to me because like, I don't want to hear any sock hop crap anymore. And when you do Smells Like Teen Spirit, all I think about is, a bunch of grungy people wearing Birkenstocks and it's raining and everybody just found out, the dog got hit by a car and they got a C- on an easy test. And
grunge was depressing. Grunge was depressing music, even though it was played at such high volume. It's depressing. It's depressing. Rock. I couldn't believe more. I think I'm with you. I think I liked Smells Like Teen Spirit more than Wonderwall. At the time, Smells Like Teen Spirit was
exactly.
That's true. Smells Like Teen Spirit was a thing. I'm like, oh, this is one of the great things ever. And then when Wonderwall is like, yeah, it's just okay. But now, fast forward to being an old man, and it being so long ago. Now I'm like, I'm with you, Luke. I would, if they're both on the radio, I'm sticking with Wonderwall.
Well, and like when you talk about the Beatles, you have to sort of think back in your head about, they wrote, she loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. And they were all da-da-da-da-da. And no, but when you think the Beatles, you actually think, Lucy in the sky with diamonds, And that's what you think about because those songs are better. They had to learn from some of the sock hop crap to move their way up to LSD songs.
I'm just so happy that all the listeners got to hear you sing today because I bet that was not on their bingo cards.
I wish I hadn't, and I don't know how to edit it, and we've done too long of it for me to take it out. So I feel like I should be meaned.
It wasn't that terrible. Yeah, it was bad.
Good.
It was bad, but
I think it was the acoustics in here, Jimmy. You can see like this little office has like these weird sort of ceilings. I think that's what it is. I'd like another shot.
Yeah, I wouldn't take. Well, we'll come up with another. We'll do another music playoff tomorrow, since we're in the silly season. This song versus that song, and we both went 2-0 Wonderwall over Smells Like Teen Spirit, which are very odd songs to.
Well, and here's the irony is a lot of people listen to that are like, "What the heck are y'all talking about?"
Yeah, that's right. That's true. In the 90s. A lot of our fans that listen to the show. I bump into kids on campus sometimes that say they listen to the show and they weren't alive.
All right. That's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.